Alright, we're gonna keep it going. Let's see. Let me get out of there. Yeah, we're gonna keep it going. We already know where we at and what we doing. We're gonna prove to these J-Cats we in this for real. I can go like this now. Alright. So y'all can see it. Alright. So very few people are aware of the lecture accompanying the second degree in the symbolic lodge. All Masons are encouraged to continue their own education and to gain knowledge in the liberal arts defined in the older context of the term as grammar, rhetoric, logic, arithmetic, music, astronomy, and geometry. The Masons emphasize the benefits of continuing education, even to the extent that many Masonic charities provide scholarships for deserving students and on a non-denominational basis. Pike was in complete harmony with that approach, but he was somewhat different in the way his own fascinations was heavily weighted towards the history of religion, but the subject of most of the writing. So, like, when it comes to morals and dogma, instead of going for the typical liberal arts and sciences, he went more in a theological approach to learning, and that is not Masonic. But that's what people like Judah and them are trying to accomplish. They're just mimicking Albert Pike with the temple degrees and things of that nature, and that, Torah mysticism and all that stuff. So they not even, they basically following the footsteps of a Confederate soldier, the pro-generator of the KKK, and things of that nature. See, Najee is smart. He says he repents against being a Luciferian and all that stuff, but then he still is, in a sense, got his hand up, he puppeting, I'll just say it that way, he's puppeting Judah into believing that this temple degrees is something different than, you can't reform a Luciferian. I'll put it that way, Judah. So continue getting misled by him all you want. But the people gonna wake up and they gonna see it's nothing more than that Saturn and Kronos worship, like Chris is saying. Shout out to Chris Harris. I don't like the OT too much, but I mean, I just put it like this. I took the commandments and the statutes and the laws, and I ran to the New Testaments. But at least I can say he is a proficient Old Testament Hebrew. He is proficient. I know they don't like us to use that word. He is a very proficient Tanakh Hebrew, and he can really, get that. So shout out to him. But yeah, let's get back to this sidebar. I know I'll be rambling like what, but not everyone believes in a familiarity with the religion and the cultures and beneficial. However, exposure to the alien ideas and customs. See, his ideas are alien. That means they're foreign to Masonry. But let's keep going. And customs may be thought to contaminate the students' religious and political beliefs. That's why the Catholic Church created the index of the books not to be read by Catholics, and why fundamentalists have sought to legal exclusion from classrooms and libraries of the books that teach morality on a non-religious basis, or in scientific knowledge that seems at odds with the scriptures. So that's what I was pertaining to when I was on a call with them, and I was telling them that the Catholics have it out for Masons because they are teaching people morality outside of the Bible, or excuse me, not outside of the Bible, but outside of their religious doctrine, outside of Christianity. Catholics don't want you to think that you could be moral without converting to being Catholic. So it's always going to be turmoil, and that's why they refuse to allow their members to join a fraternity like Freemasonry. Regardless of what Judah and them say, the proof is in the pudding. Who you gonna believe? Judah and Neji, the Luciferian, do as thy will, or you gonna believe MasonicInfo.com? Come on, man. Let's wake up. Let's stop playing games with ourselves. All right. In his conviction that wisdom was be gained by learning what others believe and why that behave as they did, Albert Pike poured his prodigious knowledge into written works so that he could share the information. Today, universities offer master's and doctoral degrees in the comparative studies of world religions and the history of religion. Pike would have approved. His plan was to educate all Scottish Rite Masons in the southern jurisdiction by imparting that comparative knowledge as an essential aspect of Scottish Rite training. The course of education Pike laid out, this is not in practice, this is his idea of what he wanted to happen. This did not happen. The course of the education Pike laid out was at 29 parts to fit the Scottish Rite system of the 4th through the 32nd degree. Rather, the beginning taught in a pedantic lectures. The information is imparted primarily in the ceremonial dramas, which are usually more effective in helping the student to retain what he has learned. The major difference between Pike's inspired course of instruction and employed in some theological seminaries is the Scottish Rite does not identify any religion as to be the one true faith. So right there alone, he tries to tell you that the Catholics and Jesuits run it. But how so? Because the Scottish Rite is not down with the belief of one true faith. So let's cut that out, please. Can y'all stop with the misinformation, please? It teaches to inform, not to prove that the error of all faiths except that of the lecturer. Some other works does arrive at conclusions, such as those condemning tyranny, from either a religious or secular source, and a charge to seek the light of knowledge, rather than yield to the ignorance that permits some men to dominate the unknowing. See, that's what happens. They want you to be ignorant, so they could dominate you. So Pike's primary lesson calls to mind the old IBM slogan that used to appear in the workplace, that is simple: think. That very concept is offensive to many, a fundamentalist evangelist who will happily do all the thinking his followers will ever need. So that's what they do. They want to think for you. He make that temple degree bull crap just so you can follow him, so he can think for you. Because you don't have the information that makes him in control of you. Stop being controlled by these Rudy Poop has-been ass wannabe Jim Jones ass suckers, man. Cut it out. Ain't no game like Frisco gang. Let's keep it rocking, man. Some of the critics of Masonry cite the degree work, but more find their raw material for Masonic condemnation in Pike's writing, especially the Ponderous Morals and Dogma, in the 861-page volume that many Masons own but few have read. It is not only tedious reading, but it is full of Pike's own perceptions of Masonry. So it's not even, it's what he thinks Masonry is. Many Masons will agree that some statements, but there are others that no Mason will ever believe. Pike was so wrapped up in his knowledge of ancient faiths and philosophical systems that he tended to make the background of Masonry far more complex and esoteric than it was ever meant to be. See, that's what they do. They always want to keep you looking what happened way back when. You taking time away from the present. You taking time away from right now. You taking time from growing and developing, because they always want you looking backwards, so you don't know what's coming ahead of you. You know what I'm saying? You're going to run into that pole, man. You're going to run into that pole. The way they got y'all going. Wake up, wake up, wake up. All right. In some of his chapters, if the word Mason and Masonry were removed, it was reasonable to believe that many of the Masons reading it would not recognize his own fraternity. Pike was a man with an extraordinary breadth of knowledge, and it's only natural that he wanted to share it all. Unfortunately, he had just one outlet that he could count on, and he appears to have found a place somewhere he knew, the southern jurisdiction of Scottish Rite. The teaching of Masonry are simple and clear. Pike preferred them to be festooned and mystic interpretations and deep arcane meaning. See, there's nothing. They always tell you, no, Masonry is deep and all this stuff and that. No, Masonry is very clear cut and to the point. But of course, somebody who believes in nonsense is going to try to make it more than what it needs to be, because they need you to feel like they giving you something when they're not really giving you anything but something they conjured up out of their feeble brains. Let's keep moving. Make no mistakes, Pike was a dynamic force in establishing a strong membership in his own jurisdiction, and a strong force in establishing degree work that has lasted for hundreds of years. He was a towering figure in the history of American Masonry. What he was not was a Grand Master of any Grand Lodge, who alone is the final authority in basic Masonic practices and jurisprudence. He was never a spokesman for all of Freemasonry and never tried to assert himself as such. He was a strong man who never shrank from expressing his personal opinions, and it was important to remember that his pronouncements as they relate to Masonry are just that, his own opinions. That's why it is important that part of Morals and Dogmas, maybe its preface, not written by Pike himself. The preface was and is the official statement of the Supreme Council of the governing bodies of the Scottish Rite Masonry that published his work. It has been ratified by every succeeding Supreme Council up to this very day. In part, it says, italic minds, those of Arthur Robinson. In preparing the works, the Grand Commander Pike has been about equally author and compiler, since he has extracted quite half its content from the works of the best writers and most philosophic and eloquent thinkers. Perhaps we should have been better and more accepting if he had extracted more and written less. That's self-explanatory right there. To remove any thoughts of the work containing religious dogma, Scottish Rite Masons in the preface say, the teachings of these readings are not sacramental. So for any that go beyond the realm of morality into those other domains of thought and truth, the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite uses the word dogma in the true sense of doctrine or teaching, and it is not dogmatic in the odious sense of the term. And then most important sense in the preface, everyone is entirely free to reject and dissent from whosoever herein may seem to him to be untrue and unsound. Meaning, if you smell BS in this book, is you got the right to do that. The blue degrees, first, second, and third, are the outer court of the particle of the temple. Part of the symbols are displayed in initiate, but he is intentionally misled by false interpretations. It is not intended that he shall understand them, but it is intended that he shall imagine that he understood them. The true explanation is reserved for the adepts, the princes of Masonry, the 28th degree and beyond. I have asked enough Masons to convince myself that there is no Mason anywhere who agrees with this statement. That's what I'm saying. He just conjured up a whole bunch of stuff, and that's why Judah was talking about, what about when you're 30? What do you have to do? First off, I'm not going to converse anything you don't have the experience of, and you're not worthy to get something that I had to work for myself. So, and you have not shown me to be qualified to even have that conversation. So why would I confer degrees with you? My answer is always and ever will be, I don't know. But moving along. But it's just a whole bunch of information. Oh, so Lucifer is nothing more than an ancient Latin name for the morning star, the bringer of light. That can be confusing for Christians who identify Christ himself as being the morning star, a term used in a central theme in any Christian sermon. Jesus refers to himself as the morning star in Revelation 22:16. I, Jesus, have sent my angels to testify that you these things in the churches. I am the root of the offspring of David and the bright and morning star. And so there is those who do not read beyond the King James Version of the Bible who say Lucifer is Satan. So says the word of God, while others with knowledge of the Latin and Hebrew text say, no, Lucifer is the classical Roman name for the morning star, and now Jesus is the morning star. This discussion can only anger certain fundamentalists. I believe that the infallibility and the preservation of the God's word, of which the King James authorizes, is a good, guided, faithful translation. Oh yeah, it's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, another thing I wanna dig into is where they be like, Prince Hall. Let me go on to Prince Hall because they like to tell you that Prince Hall is clandestine. And that's the furthest from the truth. Oh, no, you can't do that to me. Where you at? Alright, so I can't find Prince Hall. They used to have something about Prince Hall. So this goes into Obama is not a Mason. Let's see if we can go from here. No, this is the actual site. Alright, hold up. I think they got a thing about bogus masonry. Well, at least they used to. Fake masonry. There we go. Fake masonry. The proper cure for bad information is more information, not secrecy or censorship. Fake masons, counterfeit masons, what that all about anyway? People don't really just pretend to be masons, do they? They wouldn't just start a group and call themselves something they aren't. Well, yes. In some cases they do. Even at the formation of the very first Grand Lodge, there were rival groups, imitators, dissenters, and merely idle troublemakers. Why? A variety of reasons, but usually spite, a strong desire of self-aggrandizement, and or personal greed seems to be the top of the list. All three are strong motivators, particularly when someone feels that they can bring themselves greater to reward. Today, they can be used the internet to create what appears to be real deal, but better so than unexpected who want to actually become Masons will wind up giving their money and praise instead. There are also those who create such organizations as a front for other nefarious deeds, usually criminal. Long before telemarketing and telephone, Masonic degrees peddling was a very lucrative business, making scam artists a pretty penny. Today, with the internet, such scams grow and flourish. As with telemarketing, these spurious groups do a lot of dancing around trying to claim we're legitimate, while regular, recognized Grand Lodges merely go about their business. So these are all the little fake ones. I'll read them all for you. Illuminati Grand Lodge, Grand Orient of the U.S., Masonic High Council, Brass 1631 Nation, Webmaster Masons, Grand Lodge of All England, Abraham Lodge, Democratic Republic, Exoteric Masons, Dr. Conrad Murray, Malachi Z. York. What's up, Sid?
Do you need milk?
Milk?
Mm-hmm. Maybe like for home or for here?
Yeah.
Okay, I have, because I just went down to the WIC office and I don't use the milk. So we have like 3 gallons of them. Do you want them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I'll bring them in a minute.
Okay. Dr. Conrad, that's the one that did the thing, Nigerian twist, Grand Lodge, South Carolina. Well, just right. What's up?
So they're 1%.
Oh, I gotta take them home now. I can't use them here.
Yeah, that's huh?
Alright.
You want to take them home? Okay. Yeah, refrigerator.
Okay, we'll bring them to you right now.
Alright.
I know, I only use whole milk at home. Otherwise, I would have taken them.
Oh, and then you also got what? Approaching the lodge. Have you considered is a fraternity investigation initiation before you enter Grand Lodge? Women recognition. So, let's see. What you're not gonna see is PHA. Let me see. When I click on recognized. Alright. I'm just gonna breeze through this and see if it got anything about Prince Hall. It don't say that. I'm trying to get to specifically Prince Hall, but it don't say much. But yes, we are recognized. Grand Lodge list. Okay. So as you can see, Alabama is not recognized. There at Prince Hall. Alaska is recognized. You see that it says not recognized. Arkansas is not recognized. California is recognized. As you can see, California is recognized. So far it's what? Florida's not recognized. Georgia's not recognized. But the majority of Prince Hall lodges are recognized. Just in the South. You're the greatest. How can I repay you? Alright. Yeah, mostly the southern ones aren't recognized. Scrunch on the Angerstein. Scrunch. Alright, $12. I appreciate it. Your time. Alright. This your pills. And you want an Angerstein, correct? Alright, cheers, bro. You're welcome. Alright. Money. See them tips? I mean, give me that. Alright, we're back at it. So as you can see, majority of the